Men who are abused by women and tried to tell someone. What was it like? I was mostly emotionally/mentally abused by her, but she also hit me/threw stuff at me a few times. I used to keep quiet about it when I was in a relationship with her, out of some asinine obligated feeling of trust and privacy towards her. But when we broke up a few months ago, it all just flooded out. Telling other people about the facts that had transpired back then really opened my eyes to how horribly she treated me for a big part of the relationship. Luckily I have an amazing group of friends, so they were all understanding, especially because they had seen her nasty side on a few occasions. Telling my family was a lot harder. They all had this image in their head of her being this perfect girlfriend for me. To her credit, she was perfectly able to act like it when either of our families were around. No matter what happened to you, no matter how big or small it may seem, try your best to find somebody to talk about it. For me, it helped me realize that she was abusive, that I do deserve better, and that I can do better. It's also just a relief in general to share your pains and burdens with people you love and trust. I donate a rental home, when vacant, for abused spouses and children seeking shelter. A social worker cares for them and everything. LIFO quietly moves them from place to place, usually in the middle of the night. Once or twice a year they'll bring a male spouse in, and you can tell these guys are utterly humiliated and defeated. Take them seriously. Their situation is not funny or to be taken lightly. They matter. My father and stepmom are part of a bike club called Guardians of the Children. They basically supervise these moves, or stand guard at these houses all night, in case the abuser finds out where they victims are staying/where they are. They'll put victims, whether man, woman, or children, up in hotels etc., with money from fundraising, and literally sit there all night so they feel safe. It's a great organization. What kind of abuser is going to pull up with a bunch of mean biker dudes/girls standing guard? They'll also come to court if the situation comes up, so the victims don't have to feel alone. It's super heartwarming. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. I would love to be a part of it, but I highly doubt I would intimidate anyone. No one believed me, so I moved away. Just deleted all forms of social media. Got a new job right away before the Rona that pays great, and I just live by myself in a small cabin with good internet connection. I've never felt so stress-free in my life. Apparently she went berserk on FB, showing her true colors. After I left, then everyone believed me. No one believes you at first. Still get highly aggressive PMs when I talk about it on Reddit. People insist I must have done something to deserve it. The worst part is they reversed the dynamic in their head, and I've been made out to be a horrible abuser when I never lifted a finger. Meanwhile I was getting hit on a pretty consistent basis and the emotional manipulation was extreme. That's the last bit of control they have. Controlling the narrative. They have accused me of so many terrible things because that's the final avenue left to hurt me. That's what abuse looks like in the end. The abuser burns it all down and then tells everyone that they had no choice and to stay away from the only person who can dispute the facts. It's like it doesn't exist. Spent years suffering mental torture, getting arrested for things I hadn't done, had my self-esteem picked away at until there was nothing left. The police ignored me and on one occasion disregarded solid proof to arrest me on her word that I had assaulted her. Been told that charging my ex for domestic abuse was not in the public interest. Long story short, I had a mental breakdown, almost cut my throat, punched my father, went to jail, and lost access to my son. My torture lasted for over 10 years and 4 of those were after I left. Men of Reddit, take my advice. It is better to spend your life alone than with someone who manipulates, attacks and slowly tears you apart piece by piece, because even though domestic abuse law is written for all, it is 100% against you. If a woman is framing you, the cops arrive on scene with 100% confidence you're guilty. They'll practically be rolling their eyes as they cuff you. Such a helpless feeling. I watched as a kid my neighbor got carted off several times, apparently beating his wife. Well, actually no. Every single time he was assaulted, he was framed and she'd blacken her own eye or run his head into a doorway. Eventually neighbors intervened when he was supposedly assaulting her, only to look in and see her beating him up and holding him down. When they opened the door she sprang up and he ran for the others saying things like please believe me this time. I'm only defending myself. I've never hit her. She's the one always beating me. She went away for a bit but never stayed in the home. He got a restraining order and she was gone. Dude lived like that for a couple years. I'm sorry to anyone this happens to. The police made me leave my own apartment for the night. They also told me I would go to jail too if she said I hit her even with no evidence and it being an obvious lie. Edit, because this blew up. And thank you very much for the support. I'll let an ex back in my life for 2 weeks. I live alone. I was 4 years sober at the time, 5 now, and didn't know she was an alcoholic. Within the first few days she's punching walls and fights me. When she's drunk I tried to ignore her altogether when she's drunk. Last day she disappeared for a few hours partying with people at the pool. Comes back with only underwear and a towel. And extremely drunk saying I took her phone. She keeps threatening me with the police, so I call them myself and I'm asked to leave or we both go to jail. I come back next day and stuff's broken and missing. Also she's connected to the sheriff's department through her mom, so she knew what she was doing. I got a restraining order and have since moved on with my life. Thank you for the support. Those mandatory arrest laws can be a B. People are always on the side of those who tell the story. In my case there were many people who have been supportive, but there always been that bad thing where, especially women, are trying to put bit of a blame on me saying it was my fault because I should behave this or that way to not provoke things. And it's not that I have done any harm to my ex. We weren't meant for each others, but with all that s she have done to me, there was loads of s she accused me of to excuse her behavior. And some women bought that excuses easily. Manipulated by her, and thank God my friends and her friends believed me. They shunned her for it. Now that I'm no longer living where it happened, I don't talk about it. Instead I just listen to others who might be going through the same thing and believe them. I'm glad someone on here has a good, kind of, ending where you were believed. Made me gain faith back in some humans. Definition not justice system. I dealt with the whole psycho package in my first wife. Found out after the split. I was guy 3 when we were dating, which went down to just me for the first few months of our marriage. Then she started going out with her girls all the time. Her girls were the other strippers at the club she was working at. Started booking up with her coke dealer. Got me into several fights for no reason. Kept building up and getting worse. I lost weight because I wasn't eating. Lost my job due to depression sleeping. The one night I wake up to 2 cops standing over me in my bedroom. They dragged me out of bed, cuffed me and arrested me for domestic violence. I had been asleep for 6 hours at that point. Spent the rest of the weekend in jail. By the time I got out, she had cleaned out the apartment, my bank account, and taken one of my cars. All mine from before the relationship. Couldn't do anything about it, since it's a community property state. I lived in an empty apartment for months. Drinking. Barely functioning. I was a wreck and a shell of a man for months after this. Divorce proceeded immediately. I got nothing back, but did get my record cleared. I spent about 6 months going to work from 10 to 7. Then a bar until 2 AM every night. I was a terrible father to my daughter during that time because I just wasn't there. Lost all my friends. Lost all drive in life. And then I met my wife. She loves me despite my flaws and has helped me through all the damage, let the wounds heal, and has given my life meaning. I'd be dead if it weren't for her. My daughter has a father because of her. 10 years strong. Holy yes. This is horrendous. And I'm so happy to hear things are looking up. I'm so sorry you went through that. I was 15. Sexually abused by my manager at my first job. One of the biggest fast food joints. Not once, but 4 times. Someone spotted the abuse and reported it to corporate, and she got a promotion. I quit and my father ignored it. Police said the company handled it. Men who are abused are ignored because it's not supposed to be possible. I'm sorry you were abused like that. Thanks for sharing your story.